Alright, so Crabvine, the crab in this instance refers to Hedron Crab. A number of people who registered the Hogaak archetype at the Pro Tour were playing Hedron Crabs in their deck. So we've got Hedron Crab as a way to self-mill, so landfall, target player puts the top 3 cards of the library into the graveyard. So this is another way to fill our bin up alongside the Stitcher Suppliers and Satyr Wayfinders. One thing that I found interesting is a number of these decks were still playing Altar of Dementia as a way to mill through their deck as well. Obviously, you can't really combo mill people anymore because you don't have Bridge from Below to do that because that card was banned, but it's still a good way to find lots of Vengevines and get going in that way. So let's go ahead and jump on into a league. We played a little bit of Vine when Bridge was still legal. This will be our first time playing it since Bridge was banned on stream. This archetype obviously still had a lot of success at the Mythic Championship even without Bridge, so we'll see how it goes today. Had 4 of the top 8 in the SCG. Sounds right. Imabot, thank you for the 5-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. It doesn't really matter that Vine was 4 of the top 8 at the SCG because Tron won that tournament, so I would like to humbly request that we ban Tron. That seems like the only natural, reasonable conclusion from here. Ban Tron, I mean, yep. Tron won the Mythic Championship and the Open, so Hogaak's dominance is obviously greatly over-exaggerated. We should ignore all other information, only look at the single elimination rounds, and come to the completely reasonable conclusion that we should ban Tron. If I wanted to take Modern and make it slightly more fair while turning the format on its head, I would ban Faithless Looting, Ancient Stirrings, and Manamorphose. Those would be the cards I would get rid of. I don't even think that's true today, because one of humans' natural predator are decks like Jund and Jeskai. So I think you just, if you ban those cards, you just take the format and slow it down. Looks like we're playing against Storm here, which our draw is kind of slow for beating Storm. Like, there's a very high chance that we just die next turn. Alright, we milled a Gravecrawler. I tried to make JAC more unplayable. Am I dead yet? This was our greatest mistake, chat. We gave them a turn 3. We shouldn't have given them a turn 3. For people that like mental shortcuts, when your opponent has a mana creature in play with Storm, if they cast Gifts Ungiven with 3 floating red, you're deterministically dead. Alright, so I think rather than Leyline, I'd rather just have Fatal Push in this matchup. think I'd rather just have 5 ways to kill their creatures, especially on the play. Just gonna give this a go. You could make arguments for like Thoughtseize and Leyline coming in and maybe even Assassin's Trophy and Collective Brutality, but remember, every card we board in that doesn't help our primary game plan dilutes it. So, by having a less is more strategy, we're better at racing. Yeah, I agree, Gabi. In fact, that Brutality misses Burrell means it's a little mediocre. And Sandus doesn't have a second land, so we can't keep. I think this is fine. Not super exciting, but fine. Oh, right, we're mulliganing. I was like, wait, why isn't it putting it into play? I think I'm gonna bottom the Bloodghast here. I was like, why did my land disappear? What's going on? Since we're already splashing blue for Crab, would it be difficult to just change this deck to blue-white control? I think I want to just Faithless Looting here. I think I'm going to ditch the Crab. I'm going to ditch the Crab, and I'm going to play this land tapped, I think. And then my plan for next turn is to Satyr Wayfinder into a black source, and then play Stitcher Supplier and trigger my Vengevine. Seems fine. Okay. If I get remanded here, I'm actually kind of like up a creek without a paddle, though. What's going on, lazy man? We had actually had a really good pauper deck this morning to start the day off. We are in match 1, game 2 with our first time playing Hogaak on stream. We milled over a second Vengevine there, so that's nice. You know, not the worst turn 2. Definitely had worse turn 2s. Pretty good mulligan to 6, you know. Attack you for 8, put you to 12. I have 12, 16, 18 power in play. Oh, this is my turn 3. You're right. This is completely reasonable and fair. This is my 3rd turn. Our Gemstone Mine died, so I forgot. Hey, Silent Spell. Thank you for the 12 months of support. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch. Thanks for keeping me around with that. All right, am I dead? This is about to be a turn for kill. That's true. It's incredibly fair for Modern. We could die from here. It's unlikely, but we could. I kind of hope we die too, Bob. Games of Modern lasting until Games of Modern lasting until turn 4 is unhealthy and unreasonable. So I really hope we die here on their third turn. Fox! Thank you for the 4 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. I mean... Yup. Holy crap. Oh, this is peak modern right here. This is peak modern. For those that are new or don't follow modern, this is my opponent's third turn. 40 goblins go. And this is a great example of why, like, even when a deck's busted like this, if you don't really love playing Hogaak, you shouldn't play it. Like, this game just has, Magic as a game just has so much variance in it that you're just gonna die a lot of the time regardless of what you're playing, so you should make sure that when you're playing a deck, you really enjoy it. So that way, you can spark some amount of joy even when you're just getting 40 goblins on turn 3. Yeah, opponent's playing Blue-Red Goblin Tribal. How did they get 40 goblins? Empty the Warrens combined with Past in Flames. I'm not a Hogaak expert, but I think this is a keep. I think, like, we're pretty likely to put Hogaak into play on turn 2, right? Like, non-zero chance to get a Vengevine as well. Find some Gravecrawlers also. Maybe some Bloodghast. Yeah, like, there's a Hog. I should wait to play my land because I could hit a Bloodghast here with this trigger. We missed on Vengevine because we're incredibly unlucky. Also missed on Bloodghast. Incredibly unlucky. Only 11 power on turn 2. Hashtag never lucky. Oh, this whole league is just gonna be peak modern. Yeah, that's true. I don't kill till turn 4 with this hand. It's incredibly slow and fair. And this, I feel like this deck and these games are such a good example of why, even if the turn 4 rule was followed in Modern, it's a bad, lazy rule. Because decks like this kind of effectively win the game on turn 2 a lot of the time. In situations like this. Alright, so I think I bring in Thoughtseize and Assassin's Trophy in this matchup. We cut Lightning Axe and Altar. That seems really clean, right? What do we think of that? They might have Leylines. Tron is playing Leyline. Seriously? This format is so messed up. Alright, we'll do that. Green Tron on Leyline won the PT. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Also, that one STG Leylines were in the board. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Modern's a healthy and reasonable format. As someone who's reasonable and capable of changing my opinion based on evidence presented to me that makes me feel the need to re-examine things, if this current standard format is just like what historic is, it's probably fine. It's a lot... M20 made things a lot less bad than straight war standard was. So, I feel like if there's a reasonable queue to play historic in where we can find matches, we'll probably still play some historic in the fall. Maybe not right away. Like, rotation will happen. We'll go deep on standard right after rotation, of course. But as things kind of balance out, we'll probably add some historic into the mix. Yeah. There's still some remnants of what made war standard pretty bad, but like M20's got a good range of diversity. I think it's fine. It's not like GRN standard where it's like literally the best format of Magic I've ever played, but it's like reasonably acceptable. I think this hand was a trap. I don't know. I'm terrified of Leyline, so... It's mostly because I have decks that I enjoy playing that feel competitive, Big Kitty. So, like, Naya Feather, Black Red Aristocrats, the Yarok Field deck, like, all of these things are, like, reasonably competitive decks. Wow, punished for not having... I don't think there's a Stomping Ground in this deck, I guess, either, so... We're going to start with Faithless Looting here, now that we've drawn that. Yeah, I don't know, Bob, that's why I don't like playing decks like this in general. Because, like, trying to playing the, do they have their sideboard card, do I have my anti-card for their sideboard card is one of the worst experiences in Modern, which is why I think that whenever you talk about, like, should Leyline be a card that's played, if Leyline's a card that's being played in the format, I think your format's bad. I think it's a format that just, like, we shouldn't be talking about. Actually, you know what? I probably should have ditched these Bloodghast and then planned to flashback this looting. I think that was bad on my part. I think I should have ditched the Vengevines last turn. I also think it probably doesn't matter. I think there's a good chance they're just gonna like do Tron things and my draw was too slow because I kept a hand on the back of a Nature's Claim. But it is what it is. I guess I should have fetched blue there in case I drew this Hedron Crab, huh? Hey, non-striped Zebo, thanks for the 8 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. So, like, next turn, I'm likely going to put 8, 12, 13, like 21 power into play, but that's like pretty slow on turn 4. It might be enough to beat Wormcoil. No Ugin, no O-Stone. We could probably beat no Ugin, no O-Stone. If I would have fetched a blue source here, I'd be getting to mill 6 extra cards here, which is a big deal. So, like, the fact that I fetched the wrong land last turn is going to let me see 6 less cards. Which is the difference between having a Hogaak and not having a Hogaak, potentially. No, honestly, I think if Leyline is sideboard, if Leyline is a card people even want in their sideboard, I think your format's not good. Like, main deck's a whole other level of bad, but I think even if people are, like, regularly main decking Leyline in the sideboard, or sideboarding Leyline, I think it's not good. Yeah, we're out of gas at this point, and again, like, the fact that I didn't fetch the Steam Vents and I fetched this Overgrown Tomb, and then we drew Hedron Crab was pretty punishing. I'm talking about Leylines that specifically hose specific strategies. Yeah, hosers. When your format comes down to hoser versus anti-hoser and just mulliganing to make those things happen, it's not good gameplay. Do I just assume they're not on Leyline and cut these and put in Thoughtseize? I think that's what I'm gonna do. They kept a medium 7 and they played Relic, so I'm just gonna do this. I mean, Modern with these types of decks is almost always quick, right? I'm probably gonna play all 5 match with this. Unless we go 0-3, I'm gonna play all 5 matches. I don't agree with that, Pikes. I think there's always going to be another Hogaak as long as looting is legal. And I get it, right? Like I get it from the specific. There's a Steam Vents in this deck, right? Yeah, there's definitely Steam Vents. I'm gonna bottom this Marsh Flats. Sorry, let me finish my thought. From the perspective of, like, this deck still does explosive things without Faithless Looting, that's fine. But Modern's always been a format about being able to do really explosive, stupid things, right? Like, we've had Grishel brands and Neilshul brands in this format for forever, right? And Narset cannons. The point is, those decks aren't consistent, right? Faithless Looting is the consistent glue that ties the room together. There's not a Stomping Ground in this deck. I really wish I could fetch a Stomping Ground here. Yep. Whale shoot. Right on time, Vengevine. Right on time. I guess I could have convoked this and saved myself 1 card in my graveyard. I don't think it really matters. If they have any kind of reasonable Tron draw from here, we're dead. He's getting bridge, I assume, so if we rip a green source, we can maybe be okay. I think that's hot nonsense, Pikes. I think in the decks that play, I think in a vacuum, you're right, but I also think Magic cards don't exist in a vacuum, so judging them in a vacuum is beyond stupid. I think if you're just looking at things in a vacuum, you're right, they're not as good. But I think when you look at them in the context of what's actually happening, they're better. If we draw a green source here, we can trophy them. We did not, so we're dead because they have an Oblivion Stone. And I think that's a big mistake people make too much of the time. Too many people even, and that's something good Magic players do all the time too. It just really gets me. Too many people spend too much time talking about the abstract power level of cards when they're talking about what's banned and what should be banned and what isn't banned. And they need to be focusing on the context in which the cards are being played. Context is key in Magic. Everything is relative. How good is Golgari Gravecrawler in a vacuum? Not very good. I'd also argue Golgari Grave Troll wasn't a problem in Modern. Prized Amalgam, Cathartic Reunion, Insolent Neonate were the problems. Golgari Grave Troll was legal for a little while, and then they printed all these other dredge cards, and they banned Grave Troll because they printed all these other dredge cards. Without Prized Amalgam, Grave Troll's kind of whatever. Sand just doesn't do anything. I guess. How am I liking the Gemstone Mine? The Hedron Crabs have felt really awkward with the mana. In fact, if we weren't playing Hedron Crab, there's a good chance we beat Tron in the last match. I don't know. This deck just kind of feels like High Roll the Gathering in a way that's really not very interesting. These altars also seem highly suspect. Yeah, I mean... we've run real bad in this league. This league is bad. It's been like yikes after yikes. That's fine. We'll get to standard quickly. Awesome, Team Flugger. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite mid-range deck, / control deck, / go over the top, whatever you want to call it. No. Well, I mean, I get to flashback Faithless Looting, I guess. So, the Stitcher Supplier gets me going next turn. Stitcher lets me cast Gravecrawler, lets me cast Hogaak, lets me get Vengevines. We might just die before we get to that point, though. There's a main deck Plague Engineer. Yeah. Bikes on Yikes. Thanks for the 13 months. I appreciate that. Wahalo, though. Thally, thank you for the brand new Prime. Welcome, welcome. All right. We've got crabs. Yes, we do. We've got crabs. How about you? What are my thoughts on MC4? My opinion on Modern in general is that Modern has gotten steadily worse and worse since Splinter Twin was banned. And I don't think Hogaak is particularly more erroneous than lots of the other things that have existed in the format since then. I think the format's just slowly slid away from Ideal since that point. I think there's still decks in the format that I enjoy, but like something like this, like I don't think I would play this deck again on stream. Like even the games we've been winning haven't been particularly interesting. I guess I need to leave in these lightning axes to kill things like their what's it called? Like there's things like the Jeskai tempo list that are fun. I enjoy playing that deck. But like other things that I enjoy have like slowly gotten edged out of the format more and more. So like with the printing of one-sided engineered plague, elves is something I wouldn't take to a competitive setting anymore. It's just like too many of your matchups that were close are now just like very hard for you to win because they get to play one-sided plague engineer. Engineered plague, whatever it's called. And JAC's another fringe deck that I've enjoyed for a while that has gotten steadily worse and worse to the point where I would never consider playing that in a modern tournament. Just as more cards get added to formats like this, the formats become more and more narrow just by the nature of how large Magic formats work, if they're not managed with a ban list in a reasonable way. I got back into Magic about 2 months ago after being out for almost a decade, forgotten about Vengevine. It is a wild card. We've gotten a lot of really powerful enablers for it in the last couple of years. Wow. What did my innocent little crab ever do to you? Just trying to get by in this cold, hard world? You killed him. Well, I mean... maybe I'm supposed to fetch a... I think maybe I was supposed to fetch a red source there, actually. Because then I could hold this extra land to discard. What did you keep, Jun player? You knew what deck I was playing. Pro tip. If your plan is to concede to turn 3 Hogaak, your hand wasn't keepable. If the hand you're playing has the plan of, we're gonna scoop to a turn 3 Hogaak, just like one of my draw was really mediocre that game. Yeah, like our turn 3 was like 11 power. I think this hand's actually pretty good. I'm just gonna be done. Let's play standard. Hey, thanks for the 19 months to unit. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. This archetype's obviously very good. I think we ran a little bit bad. I think I'm almost certainly not an expert at sideboarding with this deck. But I also think, in my personal opinion, that this deck isn't very interesting. I didn't really enjoy playing it. The dynamics of, did my opponent have their Leyline of the Void, and did I have my sideboard card to kill their Leyline of the Void, being the pinnacle of your sideboard games, is the absolute, utter, rancid, worst kind of Magic you can play. And the fact that this deck is frequently going to be playing that type of Magic in all of your post-board games means unless you're really interested in playing that kind of Magic, I would not recommend playing this deck.